Hey everybody, here we're looking at an Ace Pro Spiral 1532H netbook from, I would guess, 09 or 2010. That time period came with Windows XP Home, because we know that was just the best operating system ever for these things. Yeah, manufacturing date 1003. Yeah, not exactly sure what that translates to. Yeah, that's Spiral 1532H, and I had upgraded the RAM in this to 2 gigabytes a while back. See if the battery has a charge on it. No, not at all. It's been sitting way too long. What we're going to do today is we're going to have a little fun with this thing. Just out of freaking curiosity, we're going to drop a solid state drive into this netbook and see what kind of performance improvement we may get. You know, these were infamous for running very slow. Of course, not having much of a CPU makes, you know, it has a lot to do with that. But there were other things with them that slow things down, such as the lack of RAM, especially if there's a factory. If it's still at the factory settings, or not factory settings, I'm sorry, factory hardware configuration, where you have just 1 gig of RAM, which is not a whole lot. It is enough for XP, but that's about it. And yet they sold these things with Windows 7 Starter for all that time, still with just 1 gig of RAM. So, we'll first start up with the hard drive that's in it. It has Windows 10 on it. Because I need to see what version of Windows 10 we want to install in here. It may have Pro, it may have Home. More likely it has Pro. Okay, so I started up, and roughly about the same time the battery and the camera died, which luckily doesn't happen much anymore since I switched over to the Sanyo Zacti CG10 with the 18650 mod. But also this thing went through an agonizing 15 minutes of installing updates. So that was wonderful. So I think they're all done. Let's go ahead and try this again. And so what's interesting with these netbooks is Windows 8, Windows 10, as you may see, the boot screen is unchanged. It's the typical Windows 10 boot screen. Unlike, for example, with Windows 7, it would always revert back to the Windows Vista boot screen, which was just a little bar at the bottom. And it's funny, this thing's actually starting up pretty fast this time compared to what it did last time. Yeah. But it's like, things like it's not showing the background, the lock screen background is not showing, it's just dark blue. Hard drive activity is somewhat wide open. So for a netbook, I guess that wasn't too bad of a startup. So we need to start it up so that way we can see what version of Windows 10 we're running on this. I think it's Pro. I'm not 100% certain on that. And of course we're running. And also see what version we're running on here. But as in not as in 1709. This, you know, what build we're running essentially. So I think we're running Pro, but I just want to see what build. So yeah, Windows 10 Pro, 1607. So yeah, we're running an older version of Windows 10 here. So we'll also be, when we install Windows 10 on this SSD, we're going to be using a newer build as well. Interesting to note, these netbooks do have 64-bit based processors, but with such little RAM available. It's like it'd be kind of painful to actually install 64-bit OS on here. Okay, so we definitely have Windows 10 Pro. As you see, it's not running terribly bad. But for a netbook, of course, for a netbook, you don't expect too much. So yeah, I'm curious. So our SSD is one out of Mid-Tower Deluxe Enterprise SATA SSD, 240GB MLC. We're still shutting down. Okay, finally we shut off. And now we'll go ahead and swap this in. I chose this netbook obviously because the other one, to change out a hard drive or RAM or whatnot, you have to do a full system teardown, including, yeah, you gotta take the motherboard loose to actually get access to the hard drive and the thing. And it's sad to say that a lot of consumer grade laptops these days are built like that, and it's not all that great. But at least this one here, you have easy access to the hard drive and the RAM. Now, one big limiting factor on these is they only offer one DIMM slot, which I'll show you here in a moment. Pretty well certain they only offer one DIMM slot. I mean, at least under the store, there's only one DIMM slot available. Now, the older one that I have, from 2008, the AOA 150, which is, again, the one you have to do a full teardown on this to change out RAM or the hard drive. It's really weird. The motherboard has 512 megabytes of soldered-in RAM, and it has a DIMM slot, or SODIMM slot rather. Yeah, I may have said DIMM slot earlier, but of course the laptops, they take SODIMM. But it has one SODIMM slot where you can put only up to 1 gig of RAM. Even though DDR2 sticks for laptops generally only go up to 2 gigabytes, well, of course there actually is larger size RAM out there, but it's extremely expensive if you can find it. But despite the fact that you can put like 2 gigabyte modules in the thing, it supposedly is only compatible with 1.5 gigabytes. Get you a better view there. So here's a hard drive. This is a Scorpio. Oh, I remember this drive. This is the drive. Yeah, this is the drive that came in my Inspiron 1525. This is the original drive that came in that machine. Only 80 gigabytes. How painful. Yeah, the Inspiron 1525, the specs on that machine were absolutely horrible when I got it. It had a Pentium dual core, which that alone isn't that bad, but only 1 gigabyte of DDR2, this 80 gig hard drive, Windows Vista Home Premium. The crappy specs are what managed, or how I managed to get that laptop for next to nothing. It was a trade-in back in 2011. Client traded it in for a desktop that was actually older than the laptop that was traded in. I essentially credited the client $40 for that laptop as a trade-in. In 2011, the laptop was only 3 years old, so that was a pretty decent deal. And of course, I beefed up the laptop with much better specs, and it has served me well for several years. Okay, so right now I'm just swapping out the hard drive from its little cage. Now, I don't exactly intend on this drive, this SSD, having a permanent home in this netbook, but I mean, just for now I gotta install it in here. So we're not only gaining the performance of having an SSD, but we're also gaining space, believe it or not, because this hard drive is replacing is absolutely tiny. This SSD, I don't think is not the fastest SSD I've ever come across, because when I did testing with it, like benchmarking, it just never seemed to perform quite as fast as, let's say, the Crucial that's in the laptop that I have, or other SSDs I've played with. And of course, the TV box has a little 64 gig SSD, and a TV box Slim, which is up on top of the shelf back here, also the 64 gig SanDisk SSD in it. And that machine does not have all that great specs either, but even with the SSD in it, it makes a noticeable improvement in performance. So with this netbook, yeah, be real curious to see what it does. So we'll just drop that in there like so. It's a good thing I had this SSD laying around, because there's no freaking way there's like no way I'd want to blow money on a solid state drive for a little netbook. So luckily I already had this on hand. Okay, so that's in there. And then you just reaffix the door like so. So this video will also be installing Windows 10 on here. Now, some of you guys may be wondering, like, why don't I just put Windows XP on here? Well, number one, Windows XP is 4 years out of support. Number two, XP does not support SSD trim. Now, I think there's probably software you can install to give it that kind of support. But yeah, XP and Vista don't natively support SSDs, and that screw just went somewhere in the dang floor. I just hate it when it slips right out of my hand. Okay, the SSD has been installed. So now you need to go ahead and start loading Windows 10 on the machine. And so you may be like, well, why don't you put Windows XP on there? Well, number one, XP is 4 years out of support. And number two, XP and Windows Vista don't natively support solid state drives. Now, I could probably, I could do Windows 7, but I've actually kind of found that Windows 10 seems to get along quite well with these netbooks. Let's see how it does with a solid state drive, though. And let's see if this netbook even supports booting off of a USB stick. I've found I'm going to be kind of finicky about that. Yep, it's not even trying to get into a bit of a bias. There we go. Okay, we'll just have to momentarily. I thought this thing had. Let's see. I'm just gonna hit yes on that. I thought this thing had a oh, an F12 is network boot, but yeah, like why isn't I even? Oh, there we are. It was Pixie booting. Interesting. So we'll just do that. Yeah. So apparently I may not notice it, but it was choosing to do network boot before booting off of the USB drive. You have to excuse me, it's a little bit past midnight. I don't pay too much attention to every little thing. Now, this SSD I think I've already wiped and everything. This is the one that was in the Mid-Tower Deluxe, if I didn't mention already. I think I did. And of course, the Mid-Tower Deluxe now has the M.2 SSD on the motherboard, so which is a ton faster than the one that we're using here. So we're just going to run through this setup utility. It's like, come on, you can do it. Come on. Like, man, even in setup, these things are slower. No, we don't need a product key. And we're choosing Pro. The reason why I like Pro is because don't have to. You can actually set a group policy to tell Windows Update who's freaking boss about installing updates. Notify to download, of course, and then you can actually disable. You can actually disable the notification from popping up every so often. Accept license terms. Next. Any day now. So we have a perfectly clean slate to work with here. Yes, 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 I know. And it's going to, of course, since we're on MBR, it's going to have 2 partitions. There we go. And we'll go and let this install. Okay, everybody, I'm continuing this video a whole day later. I was going to include the process of installing Windows 10 on this, but it was so boring and so drug out that I just decided to skip it. As part of this experiment, I wasn't really expecting a huge improvement in performance by dropping in a solid-state drive on a netbook. Well, because the netbook is just so underpowered, the little bitty Atom processor running at 100% nearly all the time. Yeah, this, for example, this one's been sitting idle for a little bit. Let's see what the CPU usage is. Come on. I mean, look, we're using, well, we're finally getting to a respectable idle. Yeah. And this is the Atom N450, 1.66 gigahertz. The netbook to the left is running an N270. That's the AOA 150 Aspire 1. That was my first laptop, actually. Got it for Christmas in 2008. Netbook has some sentimental value to me. That's why I don't care to get rid of it. This one here was just given to me by a friend. They got it from somewhere. Whoever had didn't really take much care of it. I replaced the keyboard on it because the keyboard was missing keys. Yeah, I actually spent money on the freaking thing. Keyboards on Amazon are like 15 bucks. Or they say were back then. I'm not sure what they are now. But yeah. So I figure we'll go in and do a restart. I'm running this thing on battery now, and believe it or not, the battery is still doing relatively well. Mind you, it's just a 3-cell, 2 amp hour battery. The cells in it are, I believe, 2,000 milliamp hours. The one to the left has a better battery, but that's a subject for another time. let's go and restart this thing. And I have some basic programs in Classic Shell on here to try to sort of match what I had on the other install. I probably will be dropping that other hard drive back into this thing and use that solid state drive for a more productive means. Using a computer that would better benefit from it. So we're going to go ahead and restart now. And of course, if I hadn't mentioned already, one good thing about Windows 8 and Windows 10 on netbooks is the boot screen is not affected by the netbook's lower resolution screen. And it's funny, the start performance may be a little better, but when you have this little of a CPU, it drags the whole benefit of having an SSD down big time. Like the hard disk activity LED on this netbook is just barely activating. It occasionally flickers, but I mean, this is for goodness sakes, this is a relatively clean install Windows 10 with just a few programs. It goes, but it takes a little bit. And really, considering the whole rest of the machine is slow as you know what, in my opinion, it doesn't really make feasible sense to actually install a solid state drive in a machine like this. So we'll start Google Chrome. You can see normally Chrome is a relatively fast starting browser, but on this machine it takes quite some time. And also, you can forget playing videos on this unless you're playing anything that's not in HD resolution, because this thing just wouldn't. Both of these wouldn't be able to even handle it. That's why I say it's such a shame that these machines, even when they were brand new. Oh yeah, YouTube TV, the cable-free live TV at the cost of cable TV, huh? Going up to $40-something a month. Yeah, I could actually, believe it or not, I could actually bundle TV with my existing Spectrum Internet for a year, and it'd be less than adding YouTube TV. That's pretty sad, isn't it? But it's like once things get up and running, it actually, it looks like I've recently surpassed 1,000 videos. That's interesting. So it's like once everything is up and running, and that's why they call these netbooks, I think, is because essentially that's all they're really decent enough for, is just browsing the internet. It's actually moving quite nicely now. So we'll go and conclude this with a shutdown and startup to utilize the Windows 10 fast startup. So yeah, the netbook on the left, I haven't really even utilized a whole lot. Ever since I put Cloud Ready OS on, it's been sitting collecting dust. Both of these kind of have, because of course they're poorly performing pieces of crap, in my opinion. But one thing that's nice about these old netbooks is they're so small. If you need something just to browse the internet on, and you're not in a big hurry doing it, but of course, with today you have your tablets and your phones, and of course, the iPad and other tablets are what more or less killed off netbooks like this. Yeah, because around 2008 or 2009, part of 2010, those were the bigger years for netbooks. But then the iPad came out in 2010, and other tablets, of course, come out, and also smartphones with relatively larger size displays made the netbook sort of obsolete. So this is Windows 10 Fast Startup. And again, the disk activity indicator is barely flickering. It's just the SSD is not really the solid state drive is not really even being put to work. in my opinion. It's just, yeah, it's not really had to do much at all. Okay, now I'm getting ready to install QuickBench. One thing I was going to mention is perhaps one area that a solid-state drive may be of some benefit to a netbook is, of course, a lot of netbooks are really limited on their RAM. Like, for example, this one can only take 2 gigs, and one to the left of it can only take 1.5 gigs. SSDs are not quite as painful as hard drives when it comes to swap space or virtual RAM, but yeah, it still wouldn't be quite as fast as having additional RAM. But anyways, we'll install this little utility just to see what kind of read-write speed we're getting out of this solid-state drive on the netbook. And of course, a little bitty Atom processor may be of some limitation here. And now, mind you, this is a SATA 300 machine. Definitely not as fast as newer solid-state drives. This SSD is not the fastest I've ever seen, but you still get pretty good performance out of it even on a netbook. But as mentioned, due to the really, really, really low-end processor, it's just throttles it way down. Locate CPU Z, so that way we can have a look at the processor and other information. Yeah, these netbooks just had a little bit more CPU power and a little bit more RAM availability. They'd be more feasible. And I think newer netbooks take advantage of processors like the AMD Zakati platform, the little low-power dual-core processors that get installed in some budget laptops. They're actually APUs. What I meant to say. But yeah, this is just a basic offering from Intel at the time. This is the Atom N450. And for its time, they were pretty technically advanced, running on 45 nanometer process. But still, they just don't have the power. You know, what's funny is how they're even 64-bit capable. It's like, with such low RAM on here, installing a 64-bit OS would be kind of counterproductive, I think. So, anyways, that is running an SSD in an older netbook with the Atom processor. I know that was probably not the most exciting thing to ever watch. Anyways, I was wondering how it would do, so I tried it, and here you go. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video for what it's worth. Thanks for watching. Hey everybody, I sure hope you guys enjoyed this video from Q Computer Channel. Remember to like the video, subscribe to Q Computer Channel for more updates, and remember to tick the bell so that you actually get notified of these updates. Did you know that I am also on a second channel that's CubeComp MTDX? Over here you'll find videos of bicycling, weather, elevators, and all sorts of other neat and interesting stuff. Feel free to subscribe to that channel as well. And again, I thank you for your support, and thanks for watching this video.